Hello there and welcome to Primetime News here on TV1. I'm Amavi Banugoda.
A very good evening. I'm Joel Outscoon. We start off today with a look at the headlines.
Heavy downpour continues. The city of Colombo affected. Minister Sajid invites those who have distanced themselves from the party to rejoin the UNP. When will the UNP announce the presidential candidate? Welgamer ready for presidential candidacy from the SLFP. Cabinet approved suggestion regarding pension benefits to differently abled, prematurely retired war heroes.
Starting off with our top story this evening. The Public Services Commission informed the Attorney General that Solicitor General Dilrukshi Dayas Wickramasinghe was interdicted with immediate effect.
This was confirmed to Newsfirst by State Counsel Nishara Jayaratna, the coordinating officer to the Attorney General, who said the Public Services Commission informed of their decision over the telephone this evening. Previously, the Attorney General had made a written request from the Public Service Commission to probe the alleged telephone conversation between Solicitor General President's Counsel Dilrukshi Dayas Wickramasinghe and Avant-Garde Chairman Nisanka Senadipati over allegations that she had breached professional ethics. Additional Solicitor Sanjay Rajratnam was temporarily appointed by the Attorney General to carry out the duties vested in the post of Solicitor General Wickramasinghe.
We will now be joined by Chaturanga Hapuarachi for a comprehensive report on the current extreme weather condition. Over to you, Chaturanga.
Thank you, Amavi. Even though you are experiencing a calm and relaxed night, a cool night rather, this is not the case during the afternoon and the morning hours of today. A lot of people were affected by the heavy downpour experienced in Colombo and surrounding areas and in other districts as well. Now, according to the Met Department, the rainy conditions that we are experiencing, the strong heavy downpour that we experience today will continue in the coming days as well. This afternoon they issued a Met Department release, an advisory stating that for the next 24 hours, Colombo and several areas across the country will experience the similar heavy downpour that we experienced today. Now, in their latest forecast, the department noted that rainfall in excess of 200 millimeters could be experienced in parts of the western, southern and Sabaragamu provinces. Heavy rainfall throughout the day left commuters stranded. Many faced hardships in Colombo as well. This footage was captured at the walking path near the parliamentary complex in Sri Jayawardhanapura Kotte this afternoon. The water level of the Devanna Oya, which serves as a moat surrounding Parliament, had also risen significantly. According to the Met Department, Colombo received rainfall of 67.5 millimeters today. Increment heavy showers were reported from across Colombo and its suburbs. Traffic was brought to a near standstill on Armour Street, Barber Street, Blumendal Road, St. James Street in Kotahena, Reclamation Road in Fort, the Jintupitia Junction and near the Kirlapana police station due to inundated roads. Severe traffic congestion was reported on most major thoroughfares in the city. The water levels of many of the canals streaming through the city had also risen significantly, with water overflowing into low-lying lands in some areas. Several homes were inundated as a result. Several public health concerns have also risen as a result of the wastewater overflowing from drains and canals. An earth embankment and a tree collapsed onto a house at the Bakery Junction in Angoda around 4:30 am today. The home and a three-wheeler and motorcycle parked on the premises were damaged as a result. Several low-lying areas in the Gampaha district were inundated as of this afternoon. Several parts of Wattala were inundated as ongoing construction on the expressway at Keralapitiya prevented rainwater from draining out. Parts of Periamulla in Negombo and surrounding areas were also inundated. Our correspondent reports that residents of Deniyayavatta and Sellakanda have also been affected by floods. About 300 families have been affected by floods in Rabaratta and Gomaswatta in Katana. According to our correspondent, the residents have been evacuated to safer locations. The Negombo-Meerigama road was inundated in the Mahahunupitiya area, whilst the Katunayaka-Negombo main road was also inundated by about 2.5 feet of water.
Katunayaka received the highest rainfall over the 24-hour period ending at 8:30 this morning. The area was drenched by a torrential downpour of 219 millimeters. Within this period, Vanduramba and Hiaria in Gaul received 175 and 172 millimeters of rainfall respectively. 48,560 people from 12,109 families in 5 districts have been affected by the extreme weather. The Disaster Management Centre says Gaul, Matra, Kalutara, Colombo and Gampaha districts have been affected. 22 homes have been destroyed, while 1 person has been reported dead in incidences related to extreme weather. 282 homes have been damaged. The Disaster Management Centre says 3,488 persons from 878 families have been evacuated. The Navy carried out a successful rescue operation to save 18 people who were stranded by floods. The Navy says that they have evacuated 417 individuals.
You saw the heavy downpour, you saw the effects of the heavy downpour that Colombo and other districts over the island in the island experienced throughout the day. Now, President Maithripala Sirisena has instructed the relevant authorities to take immediate steps to assist and aid people who have been affected by the extreme weather conditions. The President chaired a meeting attended by the competent authorities at the Presidential Secretariat this morning. President Sirisena had instructed authorities to obtain the assistance of the Tri-Forces for the relief efforts and to evacuate people from areas at risk from landslides. Officials had been informed to not concern themselves with financial provisions when providing relief to the people. Taking a look at the weather situation, I'm sure the general public would like to be aware of the weather situation when traveling out to work tomorrow morning. Especially we are, as the Met Department suggested, we will experience heavy rainfall tomorrow as well. You can see that there is a rainfall that you can see very clearly around the Colombo district and the Gaul district throughout the day. I'm taking a look at the weather patterns that we can observe through the satellite imagery system we have available here. Around 5:30 in the morning, still we can see rainfall, precipitation coming down on Colombo. At 8:30 a.m. this seems to be growing a bit more, and you can still see rainfall, especially in the western, southern and a bit of the central province as well. During the afternoon hours, this rainfall seems to be moving towards the country. You can see very clearly that again Colombo and the city of Gaul, the town of Gaul, southern province, is also experiencing rainfall in this manner, but the rainfall seems to be moving towards the central part of the country, and that is what the Met Department also suggested. They said that rainfall could be experienced in the western, southern, Sabragamua and the central provinces. In the evening hours tomorrow, that is when we are going back home after work, you can see again Colombo and Gaul, especially the southern province and the Gaul and Matra districts experiencing a heavy downpour in the evening hours of tomorrow.
Several parts of the Gaul and Mathura districts were also affected by heavy rainfall, with many roads rendered impassable. 65 homes were inundated in the Gonapura area. Over 1,000 families have been displaced in the Mathura district. Governor of the Southern Province, Hema Gunasekara, has ordered the Chief Secretary to release 1 million rupees in funds for each divisional secretariat to bolster relief efforts. Several parts of the Kalutara district have also been inundated, with the Benthara River breaking its banks. A spill gate of the Kukuleganga reservoir has been opened. The water levels of other rivers in the district had also risen significantly. An 8-year-old girl sustained serious injuries when an earth embankment collapsed onto a house in the Uduwana area in Imadua last evening. She is being treated at the ICU of the Karapitiya Teaching Hospital. 3 others who were in the house at the time were unharmed. 3 people, including another small child, were injured when an earth embankment collapsed onto a house in Amugoda, Poddala last evening. A 42-year-old woman was killed in Vanduramma Gaol in another incident involving a collapsed earth embankment. Another woman who was injured in the incident has been admitted to the Karapitiya Teaching Hospital.
The Met Department is forecasting heavy showers or thunder showers for several parts of the island. Issuing a heavy rainfall warning, the department noted that parts of the western, southern and Sabaragamuwa provinces could experience rainfall in excess of 200 millimeters. The Irrigation Department notes that people living along the banks of the Nilwala, Kalu and Ging rivers should remain cautious as water levels could rise without warning. The flood level at the Baddegama water gauge in the Ging river is marked at 5 meters and the water level had risen to 4.57 meters as of this evening. Landslide warnings have been issued for several administrative divisions in 5 districts. Senior geologist at NBRO's Landslide Division, Dr. Gamini Jayatissa says the warning is in effect for administrative divisions in the Gaul, Mathara, Kalutara, Ratnapura and K-Gaul districts. Meanwhile, passengers heading to the Bandaranaike International Airport have been informed to arrive at least 3 hours prior to departure. The BIA's management said this decision was made taking into consideration the persisting weather conditions. The police have established 2 hotlines to contact the police in the event of natural disasters. The telephone numbers are 011 2587 225 and 011 2454 576. Joel and Amavi, that's all the information we have for you and for our viewers from the weather desk. But we continue to monitor the situation. We will continue to keep our viewers updated about what's going on. And Joel, it is important to note that we are sending out SMS alerts. We are keeping the general public informed through our website, that is www.newsfirst.lk. So if you want to receive the latest updates with regard to the heavy showers that we are experiencing in and around the country, especially in the Colombo and Gaul and Mathura districts, you have to be logging on and you have to keep in touch in terms of our news provision, that is www.newsfirst.lk, and throughout our prime-time bulletins we will also keep you updated. So it's back to you, Joel, at the main desk.
Well, thank you very much, Chaturanga, for bringing us that comprehensive update on the extreme weather. Moving on to more news this evening. Now, the Cabinet of Ministers have decided to grant a pension to the differently abled retired 3 forces personnel, police officers and SDF officers, similar to the salary they've received during the time they served. Now, the Ministry of Finance announced that this payment will be made effective starting today.
A group of differently abled who were protesting on this issue opposite Colombo Fort then moved towards the Presidential Secretariat. They then staged their protest obstructing the Lotus Road. In the statement issued by the Ministry of Finance, it stated that in commendation to the sacrifices made by these soldiers, steps were taken to implement this decision. On a separate note, issues with regard to the allowances of executive officers of the public sector were also discussed during this meeting. Speaking to Newsfirst, Minister Ranjith Maddama Bandara said Cabinet approved to implement the recommendations made by the Committee on Public Sector Salary Anomalies from the 1st of January 2019.
In one of your headline-making stories this evening, Deputy Leader of the United National Party, Minister Sajith Premadasa, requests all those who distance themselves from the UNP to join with him to build the country.
Issuing a media release, the minister stated that disparities in ideologies are matters that can be discussed and a consensus can be reached rather than using it as a reason to distance themselves from the party. Therefore, the minister urges all provincial councillors, local government authorities and all party representatives to join hands with him in the journey to make the people and the party victorious. Minister Sajith Premadasa further stated that he will extend an invitation to the former General Secretary of the UNP, Tissa Atnayaka, to join him in reclaiming the glory of the party. Attending the parliamentary group meeting held to decide on the presidential candidate representing the United National Front, Minister Sajith Premadasa responded to these questions raised by journalists.
I have something to say. I have made a number of requests to the Prime Minister to conduct a meeting between the Central Working Committee and the Parliamentary Group of the United National Front. I made the request today that the 2 groups meet and hold a discussion. When I made a request to the Prime Minister through a letter, I specially stated that the Central Working Committee and the parliamentary group of the United National Party should meet and reach a consensus. After taking into consideration the requests made to me by the party leaders of the United National Front, I made a small amendment to that request. That is, that the Central Working Committee and the parliamentary group of the United National Front should meet and hold discussions in order to come into a final consensus on the presidential candidate. The final date to come into an agreement on that decision is Thursday. Thereby on Thursday, we must reach a final consensus.
අවසන් දිනේ කියලා තියෙන බ්‍රහස්පතින්දා. ඒ බ්‍රහස්පතින්දා අපි ඒ තීන්දුවට එළවෙන්නට ඕන.
අමුතුවෙන් එදිනෙදි රහස් ඡන්දයක් වගේ දෙයක් සිද්ධ වෙනවද?
අදහස උනේ
It was agreed upon that a final consensus will be reached through discussion. If that fails, we may have to resort to another democratic measure.
වාදී ක්‍රමවේදී අනුගමනය කරන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා.
සමාජ මාධ්‍ය පළ වෙනවා. එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයෙන් අපේක්ෂකයන් 4 දිනක් ඉදිරිපත් වෙලා තියෙනවා කියලා.
මම නම් ඒක දන්නේ මම දන්නවා මං ගැන. මං අඩියක් ඉස්සරහට තියලා තියෙනවා මං ආයෙ පස්සට ගන්න.
මට්ටමින් ඉන්න ඔබගේ හිතයි සින්න. ඔබ ගැන බලාපොරොත්තු වුණා. ඔබතුමා මොනවාරි පණිවිඩයක් දෙන්න තියෙනවද? මොකද මේ ඔවුන් ඊටම නොවිසිල්ලෙන් බලා සිටින්නේ.
කරුණාකරලා මං පණිවිඩයක් දෙන්නම් ඒක හොඳට අහගන්නවද?
I have an important message. Listen to it very carefully. There are 6.1 million families in this country. There are 22 million citizens. They're all my friends. They're all my brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers. I don't have any other family. They are my family. My family is this country.
ඒ තමයි මගේ පවුල. මට වෙන පවුලක් නැහැ. මට තියෙන එකම පවුල් ගහ මේ රටේ ජනපරපුර.
Minister Lakshman Kirwala spoke about the United National Party presidential candidate today.
The candidate will be chosen by the working committee. The working committee will convene tomorrow and the day after and reach a decision. I would like a candidate that can win. A person who can win needs to be able to receive the support of all people. Because you cannot leave aside the minority, there are professionals as well.
හිතේ තියෙනම කියන්න ඕනේ නෑනේ ඔයාට. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒකට දැනට හිතේ අදහසක් තියෙනවා මම ප්‍රේක්ෂකයා කියලා නේද? ඔය හිතේ අදහසක් කියන්නේ මේ කාන්තාවකද?
Meanwhile, the General Secretary of the United National Party, Minister Akila Viraj Karewasam, convened a media briefing today.
This is not something that I can decide alone. This should be decided by the working committee as per the constitution. There are 48 MPs in the working committee. There are 20 others from various organizations representing the provincial level and the Pradesh Sabha level. As a major party, we should all come together and decide together. We will unite all three and win. We will have to name the candidate before the nominations end. We will definitely do it by then. Last time around too, we announced our candidate after the date for the nominations were announced. We only had 1.5 months last time as well. We are trying to achieve a lot through a consensus. As the General Secretary, what I wish to do is to unite everyone and to solve this issue. I am willing to sacrifice anything, be it the position of the Minister or the position of General Secretary. I am ready to continue the program that we commenced without breaking up the party. Otherwise, we will end up with the old state.
News from courts this evening. Now, the appeal court issued an interim injunction today suspending the summons issued on ex-Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa to appear at the Jaffna Magistrates Court to provide evidence in a case related to the enforced disappearance of 2 human rights activists.
Earlier, the Jaffna Magistrates Court issued summons on Gotabaya Rajapaksa to appear in court and provide evidence in the habeas corpus case filed over the 2011 disappearances of Lalit Veeraraj and Kugan Muruganandam in the north and east. In an appeal filed with the Court of Appeal, Gotabaya Rajapaksa pointed out he cannot appear at the Jaffna Magistrates Court due to security concerns, and if required, he is prepared to provide evidence on the matter at any other court except for those in the Jaffna district. Considering the facts, Justice Deepali Vijayasundara of the Court of Appeal issued an interim injunction order. She ordered for the appeal court to be dispatched to the Jaffna Magistrates Court and ordered for the examination of Gotabaya Rajapaksa's petition to commence on the 3rd of December. Justice Achala Vengapuli informed he would recuse himself from considering the appeal filed by Gotabaya Rajapaksa.
Now, the leader of the National Unity Alliance, Azad Saleh, convened a media briefing in Colombo today.
අද මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමා ප්‍රකාශයක් කරලා තියෙනවා එයාගේ වාචාලය ටිකට.
Mahinda Rajapaksa has made a statement today asking his demagogues to shut up. He has said that no one should say anything until he speaks to the president and resolves the problem. He could have imposed this sanction at the beginning when the SLFP and SLPP started holding talks. He could have thought that he needed the SLFP and the SLFPers. He used the women, children and peons to attack Maithripala Sirisena, and what is he trying to do now at the 11th hour? A decision has already been made that there will be no alliance.
දැන් තීන්දුව කරලා ඉවරයි. එකතු වෙන්නේ නැහැ කියන එක.
And the following views were expressed by the General Secretary of the SLFP, Solicitor General, in response to the statement made by MP Kumara. Welcome.
Well, MP Belgamer will not be fielded as the presidential candidate from the SLFP. He worked and nourished the SLPP and served as the SLPP district leader for the Badula district. After being interdicted from his position, he rejoined the SLFP. When he joined the SLFP, we warmly welcomed him. If he does not contest from the SLFP, he cannot contest on behalf of the SLFP. He has some opposing views against Gotabaya Rajapaksa. However, he worships Mahinda Rajapaksa. I don't understand how he goes against Gotabaya Rajapaksa while worshipping and supporting Mahinda Rajapaksa. I really don't understand this.
Meanwhile, speaking at a meeting of party supporters in Maharagama yesterday, JVP parliamentarian Bimal Ratnayaka had this to say.
The person contesting in the election is Gotabaya Rajapaksa, but now he takes Mahinda Rajapaksa with him wherever he goes. We would like to ask if he would do the same if he is elected president by some mistake. We urge Gotabaya Rajapaksa to present his cabinet at least 1 week before the election. Mahinda Nandalut Gamage, Wimal Weerawansa, Basil Rajapaksa, Cabral, and who else is with him? Show us one new face. Candidate Gotabaya Rajapaksa was not fielded by Mahinda Rajapaksa. People think that it is the Port Tour. Basil Rajapaksa is not the leader of the Port Tour. It was none other than Ranil Wickremesinghe who brought Gotabaya Rajapaksa to the field. Ranil Wickremesinghe puts all his effort to protect Gotabaya Rajapaksa in order for him to be the presidential candidate, which is his intended political strategy. We know that recently Gotabaya Rajapaksa took a passport without even going to the office. Then we inquired from the subject minister regarding that. Later, I asked about it privately and he said that it was according to the Prime Minister's wishes. It is still a question as to whether Gotabaya Rajapaksa has revoked his citizenship or not. Who was interested in getting him a passport? What is the strategy of Ranil Wickremesinghe? His strategy is to get votes the same way they did in 2015 by showing the terror people will have to face if Gotabaya Rajapaksa is elected.
General Secretary of the SLFP, Solicitor General, made the following revelations at a media briefing held earlier today.
This cabinet paper has been presented as the signature of the Prime Minister. I have this cabinet paper in my possession at this moment. This has been signed by the Prime Minister. Instead of presenting this at the cabinet, the Prime Minister just took them and left the meeting because of a discord that arose in the pre-cabinet meeting that was held at 2 p.m. As a result of the ongoing crisis within the UNP, the Prime Minister did not present these papers to the cabinet. I would like to kindly ask him not to put the blame for this crisis on the shoulders of the President. There is a disagreement between the President and the Prime Minister. We kindly ask them not to destabilize the country anymore and sort this crisis and end it by the presidential elections.
Meanwhile, speaking at a forum held in Colombo last evening, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe admitted that government interference was the cause of losses suffered by Sri Lankan Airlines.
Responding to a question posed at a forum moderated by CNN's famed business correspondent Richard Quest, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe commented on losses suffered by Sri Lankan Airlines.
Aren't many of Sri Lanka's airlines' problems the result of government interference and meddling?
Well, certainly it was a question of government interference, and we have a debt of about $1 billion. We all have to pay that.
The Prime Minister's statement was reported widely in this morning's newspapers. Given the more than $1 billion debt burden that has been placed on the nation, it is important to identify who exactly interfered at Sri Lankan Airlines. The public will recall the manner in which an economic management subcommittee was appointed, going above the cabinet of ministers and chaired by the Prime Minister following the change in 2015. It was this economic management subcommittee, led by the Prime Minister, that guided the cabinet through all decisions related to Sri Lankan Airlines. Suren Ratwatta, the brother of one of the Prime Minister's closest advisors, was appointed CEO of Sri Lankan Airlines, and the national carrier was administered on apparent whim and fancy, aggravating the burden on the country. It was during this time frame when the Prime Minister's friend and advisor's brother ran the airline that European long-haul routes were terminated, aircraft orders were cancelled with billions being paid out in compensation, and people who rendered no service to the airline were recruited for exorbitant salaries. And that's not all. Eventually, Suren Ratwatta led the airline, collecting a major bonus for the months remaining on his contract, and took flight to Australia with zero regard for the state of the airline that was under his management. This should make it exceedingly clear as to who was responsible for interference at Sri Lankan Airlines. The manner in which the Prime Minister slinked, sidled and edged his way into not only Sri Lankan Airlines but almost every aspect of the state is still fresh in the collective public memory. In 2015, he was able to become Prime Minister without having a majority in Parliament. Immediately upon taking office, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka was removed from the purview of the Finance Ministry and placed under his Economic Development Ministry. He secured the appointment of his long-time friend Arjuna Mahendran as Governor of the Central Bank in spite of objections raised by the Cabinet. The system utilized for the issuance of sovereign bonds was manipulated, allowing for not one but two bond scams in 2015 and 2016. A committee of loyalists was subsequently appointed to cover up the scam. And that's not all. Fairy tale FDI projects were greenlit, including the oil refinery in Hambantota, the Volkswagen factory in Kuliapitiya and the tyre factory in Horana. The Hambantota port was sold off to China, claiming some vague benefit for the country. A public-private partnership unit was put together outside of the authority of the Board of Investment. The lease of a building in Rajagiri for the Agriculture Ministry, which enriched friends and henchmen. Notwithstanding the economic impact of these interventions, it is also important to recall the hatchet job carried out on the governance structure of the country. Shrewd amendments and revisions were included in the 19th Amendment to the Constitution to curtail the powers of the presidency, rendering the country nearly ungovernable. Not forgetting the attempt to create another constitutional crisis by attempting to abolish the executive presidency when faced with certain defeat, claiming that it was called for by civil society. Given that the Prime Minister has admitted that government interference has led to the collapse of Sri Lankan Airlines, will he be held accountable for the many crises that have been caused by his interferences? Is it not the country and its people that he is humiliating before an international journalist and the local and international business community?
Well, you heard the views expressed by parliamentarian Solicitor General earlier in the news regarding Kumara Walgama. Journalists questioned MP Kumara Walgama today whether he is prepared to contest the upcoming presidential election.
No, my name has not been proposed as yet. There is no such thing. However, my view is that to protect the SLFP and on behalf of our country, a candidate must come forward from the SLFP. If my name is proposed, I will contest the presidential election. I am capable of going forward. I met the president and discussed this matter. If the party decides to join the SLPP, we would not agree with that decision. I explained to him clearly if such a decision is taken, we have no other option than to take alternative measures. Can Gotabaya Rajapaksa contest in the presidential election in the first place? Has he fulfilled all the necessary conditions? The US government is yet to respond on this matter as well. This is a puzzle. If we want, we can talk about Chamal Rajapaksa.
Prior to convening this media briefing, MP Walgama held discussions with the movement to protect the SLFP.
In biz news, the central bank has decided to order licensed banks to reduce interest rates applicable on all rupee-denominated loans and advances by at least 2 percentage points by the 15th of October this year. Now, the 2 percentage point reduction is against interest rates applicable as at the 30th of April 2019.
with effect from the 1st of November 2019. In the case of credit card advances, the maximum interest rate applicable will be 28% per annum. In the case of pre-arranged temporary overdrafts, the maximum interest rates applicable will be 24% per annum. With effect from 15th of October 2019, penalty interest rates added to loans and advances have been capped at 4% per annum. Each licensed commercial bank is also expected to reduce its average weighted prime lending rate by 2.5% by the 27th of December 2019 compared to rates at the 26th of April 2019. Meanwhile, the central bank said headline inflation in August this year increased to 3.4%, which is an increase of 1.2% compared to July this year. The NCPI, which is built up of two categories, food and non-food, observed an increase in both categories. Within the food category, prices of banana, rice and fresh fish recorded increases. Moreover, within the non-food category, prices of the items in transport, alcoholic beverages, tobacco and narcotics and clothing and footwear subcategories increased during the month. Speaking exclusively to Newsfirst, a former officer of the central bank said NCPI was formulated based on a substantial study of the economy. Several experts stressed that the change in inflation rates is not reflected accurately through an index.
That consumer price index is only a very simple measure of impact of prices, particularly consumer products that are in a basket of goods. And this basket of goods introduced by the people who do the survey at a particular timing. Now, actually, I understand that this basket was introduced in 2013. And this is now 5 years or 6 years after that. Particularly, the consumer price index reflecting the inflation vis-a-vis the urban sector is not going to be the same as in the rural sector. But some of the goods that are sold in the supermarkets are mostly imported items with heavy taxes on it. So if you look at the basket of goods, I think there must be a need to really adjust the basket of goods. The burden of taxes are not felt by most of the rural people. They live with a lot of the produce that they find from the local environment. The consideration that inflation has increased by more than 1% is only relevant in the context of a small segment of the population of our country.
Well, on that note, we wrap this edition of Primetime News.
Thank you. Take care and good night.
Good night.